My name is Sharon Brown. A lot of people know me as the Mom of 10 because back in March of 2008, my children and I entered into Morning Star Sanctuary domestic violence shelter. After a violent incident in our home, we were rescued by the Metro Police Department. I'll start with the night before. A woman who he had brought into our house who was supposed to be a nanny and help me with the kids. And she ended up spending the night in his bed with him. And that morning turned into me making one comment, maybe an argument of sorts. I went on to go upstairs and I was pulled down by my hair from the third step up onto the floor where there was just constant banging of my head and choking. And then this day was different. This day he started to tell me, "I'm going to kill you." What I saw in his eyes made me believe that what he was saying, he was going to do. After I had grabbed the phone to dial 911, and when he realized what I was doing, he pulled the phone out of the wall. But after that, he was infuriated, and the physical attempt just increased to the point of where he had me face down on the couch with his knee in my back. He took my head in his hands, and he was behind me in an attempt to, I guess, break my neck. I was to the point where I could see him eye to eye. And I whispered the name of Jesus. I said, "Jesus." And I don't know to this day how he got on the other side of the room, but I do know that it was enough time for me to escape. And the next thing you know, there was a banging on the door, and the police had arrived. Of course, Mr. Brown ran outside, and officer, that's my wife. You know, I love her, I'm just trying to help her, all the antics. But the officer who came to speak with me, and he just began to ask me questions. If you don't press charges today, there's a chance that Child Protective Services could come and take your kids. They weren't in agreement, the officers weren't in agreement, so they couldn't arrest him. I had to be the one to press charges. But all I heard was that you're going to lose your kids, and I checked out. And he said, "Well, let me just say this to you, that if you don't take action, that the next time we come here, there's a good chance we'll be carrying you out in a body bag." We were told one of us had to leave the house for the day, and I decided that I would go. After 3 o'clock, I was allowed to go back into the house. I just knew that I needed to take action, and I decided I would take the brochure that the officer had given me, and when I called the number that was listed, they transferred me to a domestic violence counselor. I told her I wanted to press charges, and she was making arrangements to come get me. And she said, "Oh, you don't want to leave without your kids." She would put me on hold, and she said, "I need to check something, I'll be back." She was contacting Morning Star. Little did I know that Morning Star did not have room for me and my kids. The woman who answered the phone was a believer. She heard the request that was being made, and she said, "Let me call you back." Marlene Rivers, volunteer for Morning Star, hung up the phone and said, "Father, what do you want me to do?" And she prayed, And then she came before the women who were in the shelter. They had no idea. She just said, we have a mom and her kids. They didn't know the numbers. We'd like to make room for them. Would any of you be willing to volunteer to go to the other shelter? And the exact number of women who needed to go to make space for us volunteered. So the counselor on the phone made all the arrangements, and then she said, okay, we'll be there in 45 minutes. And I know now it was nothing but the hand of God orchestrating all of this so that my kids and I could be safe. Linda Johnston, one of our amazing volunteers, headed up, just spearheaded, and it was just incredible. When you're going through that and there's so much going on and so much, like for me, so much I had to try to figure out, and how do I do this? How do I navigate this on my own? What is the new normal? Like, I feel like we probably didn't come into any type of normalcy probably for years. But one of the most powerful things I think that we encounter is as a woman comes in, you realize you may have nothing in common, but we do have this common thing that we've experienced some type of trauma. And so there's just almost a natural camaraderie based on this common factor. We just put out the call. It may be that the Lord puts on your heart to give money. It may be that you have other resources. Nothing is too little, nothing is too insignificant. The house may be empty, but there are hearts that need to be filled with God's love. And you can be a vessel, you can be an instrument that He uses to make the difference.